At 2:47 a.m. on April 11, 1942, Private Eugene Parker watched his GMC CCKW sink into the earth. Not mud, not snow, something worse.
What are we gonna do?
The muskeg swamp had swallowed the front axle in 40 seconds. 23 years old, truck driver from Toledo, transferred to the 35th Engineers 6 weeks ago. The thermometer read 12 degrees. His convoy of 18 trucks stretched behind him on what the Army called a road, but was really just boot prints and prayer. Captain Morrison had warned them at Fort St. John. The trucks will break, and the men who give up will go home in boxes. Parker's cargo manifest read simple: 4,000 pounds of explosives, 800 pounds of blasting caps, enough TNT to level a city block. The muskeg didn't care. It pulled the GMC down another 6 inches. This is the story of the impossible highway, the road they said couldn't be built, through terrain that had killed explorers for 2 centuries. But it's not really about the road. It's about the trucks that carved it from wilderness and the men who drove them into places maps called uninhabitable. December 7th, 1941. And Pearl Harbor burns. 2,000 miles north, Alaska sits undefended. The Japanese Empire owns the Pacific. Military planners in Washington face a problem with no good answer. How do you supply Alaska when the sea lanes are war zones? You can't fly enough cargo. You can't ship it safely. Someone suggests a road through Canada, through the Yukon, through 1,700 miles of mountains, permafrost, and swamp that swallows equipment whole. The experts calculate it would take 5 years minimum, and President Roosevelt gives them 8 months. March 1942, the 35th, 342nd and 341st Engineer Regiments roll into Dawson Creek, British Columbia. 11,000 men, 7,000 of them are black soldiers assigned to segregated units, given the worst equipment, sent to the worst terrain. They arrive to find temperatures at 40 below zero and locals who'd never seen a black person before. The white units get the newer International and GMC trucks. The black units get the hand-me-downs, the Macks and Dodges with 200,000 miles already on them. And the mission: connect existing roads and trails from Dawson Creek to Fairbanks, build bridges, blast through mountains, lay corduroy roads across swamps. Do it before winter returns. Do it while Japanese forces occupy Attu and Kiska Islands in the Aleutians, just 1,500 miles west. The trucks were supposed to save them time. Army logistics calculated each GMC CCKW could haul 3 tons of supplies, run 24 hours with driver swaps, cut construction time in half. The logistics officers had never seen muskeg. Muskeg isn't mud. It's partially decomposed vegetation floating on permafrost. It looks solid. You can walk on it in winter. But put 4 tons of truck on it in spring, and it becomes liquid. The 340th lost 16 trucks in the first week. Not damaged. Gone. Swallowed completely. Recovery crews would find them months later, 20 feet down. The cargo still strapped in place. Private First Class James Johnson, 24, Detroit, drove a Diamond T wrecker for the 93rd Engineers, and the Diamond T weighed 8 tons empty, 12 tons with the crane extended. It was supposed to pull stuck vehicles out of trouble. In muskeg country, it became another victim. Johnson's crew developed a technique: lay spruce logs perpendicular to the path, creating a floating road called corduroy. It worked until the logs rotted, which took about 6 weeks. They laid 37 miles of corduroy road, Most of it rotted before the highway officially opened. The temperature swings hit harder than the cold. May brought the thaw. Permafrost turned to slush, and roads that held trucks at dawn became quicksand by noon. Temperature could swing 60 degrees in 12 hours. Drivers learned to carry enough supplies for 3 days, even on runs mapped for 6 hours. Getting stuck meant waiting for a recovery crew, and recovery crews were often stuck themselves. See that subscribe button? It's our exchange, your way of saying, "This reached me." Not about the action's size, but its meaning. Hit it if this resonated, drop a like if it moved you, and comment your thoughts on this story. Well, let's complete this circle together. Corporal William Griggs, 95th Engineers, kept a diary against regulations. June 4th entry. Lost 2 internationals today. Johnson's truck went through ice crossing the CCKW River. Truck's at the bottom. Johnson made it out. Cargo didn't. 4,000 rounds of ammunition, 60 cases of rations, 1 typewriter. Lieutenant wants to know about the typewriter. The bridges were the choke points. Every river needed crossing. The Kiskatana and the Sekani Chief, the Liard, the White. Engineers would arrive to find rivers 100 yards wide, running 8 miles per hour, carrying ice chunks the size of trucks. They'd build temporary bridges from local timber. The trucks would cross, the bridges would collapse. They'd build another one. The 341st built a bridge across the Peace River in 9 days. Timber cut from surrounding forest, no concrete, no steel, just notched logs and faith. As the first convoy across was 40 trucks carrying drilling equipment for the pipeline crews following behind. The bridge held for 6 weeks before ice took it out. They built another one. Supply became the nightmare that kept officers awake. Each truck needed fuel, oil, spare parts, tires. The supply trucks needed fuel to deliver fuel. Math worked against them. A truck convoy burns more fuel traveling to deliver fuel than the fuel it delivers if the distance exceeds 300 miles. And the Alaska highway construction sites were often 600 miles from the nearest depot. They adapted. Fuel dumps every 50 miles, tire depots every 100. Mechanics traveled with the convoys because waiting for a shop meant waiting days. Private Michael Torres, 35th Engineers, mechanic from Los Angeles, performed 11 engine replacements on the side of the road between Fort Nelson and Watson Lake. June temperatures hit 80 degrees. Mosquitoes arrived in clouds thick enough to suffocate a man. Torres worked wearing a head net and gloves and 3 layers of clothing despite the heat. The mosquitoes bit through it anyway. The death rate among the trucks exceeded the death rate among the men. The 341st Engineers started with 214 vehicles in March. By August, they had 91 operational, not counting the ones at the bottom of muskeg swamps or rivers. The Army shipped replacements, but the replacements had to survive the journey up the partially built highway to reach the units that needed them. June 15th, Private Parker, the kid whose truck sank in April, is driving again. A different truck, same cargo, explosives. The 35th is blasting through a mountain near Muncho Lake. The road has to gain 1,000 feet in elevation over 2 miles. Trucks can't climb that grade loaded, so they're shuttling supplies. Drive up empty, walk down, carry what you can, repeat. Parker's hauling drill bits and blasting wire up a grade so steep his GMC's in first gear the entire climb. Temperatures 72 degrees. His engine's running at 220. The radiator boils over twice. He stops and lets it cool, tops it off from a creek, continues. Takes him 4 hours to cover 2 miles. He makes 6 trips that day. The next day, they blast the road cut and the grade decreases to something trucks can handle loaded. The 93rd Engineers, all black soldiers, drew the worst section, Fort Nelson to Watson Lake, 300 miles through territory that defeated every previous expedition. They were given the oldest trucks, the least fuel, and a deadline matching the white units despite terrain twice as difficult. As they finished their section first, Sergeant Robert Madison, 27 Alabama, explained it to a reporter in September. "We had 40 trucks at the start. We have 19 now. We keep them running by making parts from parts. We make bridges from trees we cut an hour ago. We keep moving because stopping means dying. Not from the enemy, from the land." The supply convoys ran day and night through summer. White nights above the Arctic Circle meant 20 hours of daylight in June. Drivers did triple shifts because the work couldn't wait. Sleep deprivation caused accidents. Accidents meant delays. Delays meant missing the deadline before winter. August brought the first snow. The finish line appeared. Both ends of the highway were pushing toward each other. Northern crews worked south, southern crews worked north. The gap closed to 200 miles, then 100, then 50. September 24th, Contact Lake, mile 1061. The northern and southern sections met. 2 bulldozers touched blades. Photographers captured the moment. What they didn't photograph were the trucks lined up for 2 miles in each direction, loaded with supplies, waiting to finally make the full run from Dawson Creek to Fairbanks. The official opening happened November 20th, 1942, 8 months and 12 days after the first truck rolled into Dawson Creek. The road ran 1,700 miles through wilderness that had swallowed every previous attempt. The final cost, 133 bridges, 8,000 culverts, 11,000 soldiers, and approximately 3,000 trucks. Of those 3,000 trucks, fewer than 800 survived to see Fairbanks. And the highway wasn't finished. The November opening was ceremonial. The real road took another year of improvement. But the corridor was open. Trucks could make the run. Supplies could flow to Alaska. The Japanese threat to the northern coast faded because the logistics became possible. Private Eugene Parker, the kid who watched his truck sink into muskeg in April, drove the full length of the highway in December 1942. The trip took 6 days. His GMC broke down twice. But he made it. In his after-action report, he wrote, "The road they said couldn't be built works. The trucks they said would all die kept enough alive. The men they didn't think could do it did it anyway." The Alaska Highway still exists. It's paved now, maintained, a tourist route through spectacular country. In 2009, crews working on a section near Whitehorse found a GMC CCKW under 18 feet of new growth. The cargo manifest was still legible, explosives and blasting caps, dated April 11, 1942. They left it where it was. Some monuments to what happened don't need moving. As the 93rd Engineers, the black unit that finished first with the worst equipment, received no recognition until 1993. 51 years after they built 300 miles of road through impossible terrain with trucks held together by wire and determination. The ceremony was brief. Only 8 veterans remained alive to attend. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from and whether you'd ever heard this story before. The highway we take for granted was built by men and machines they said weren't good enough for the job. Both proved the experts wrong.